Welcome back to the Artful Gourmet podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Hess, food stylist, photographer, and creative entrepreneur. I believe life is an art form, and every decision we make in business, creativity, and love is a brushstroke on the canvas of who we're becoming. Today, I want to talk about something I've learned the hard way: intuition. That little inner voice that doesn't always shout, but always knows. Steve Jobs once said, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become." When I look back on my own journey from Buffalo, Rochester, New York City, down to Atlanta, Florida, now in Texas, and back to New York City, through the world of culinary arts, food photography, and building my own brand 3 times now, I can honestly say my intuition has been the one thing that's never steered me wrong, even when the path looked uncertain. So let's talk about this and dive in. Part 1 is, what is intuition? To me, intuition is that quiet inner knowing, the voice beneath the noise. It's not loud, it's not logical, but it's honest. Einstein once called it the sacred gift, saying our rational mind should serve it, not silence it. I remember when I was working in corporate settings early on in my career, and even most recently in my career, doing work that looked successful from the outside, but deep down I felt restless and I wasn't satisfied. And I wasn't really following my true potential and what I really, really wanted to do. For example, my first job out of college, I've talked about this before. I did a sales job down in Atlanta. It was fun. I was 22, got to travel, met a lot of friends, made some good money. But after about 4 years, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of over this. I went to school for graphic design. I had like AP art and a scholarship to Syracuse University to do my art and become a designer. And, I felt bad quitting after all that time. Like, I didn't want to let anyone down or have my boss get mad at me. And I felt guilty. But you know what? Something in me just said over and over, you're meant to create. You're meant to tell stories through graphic design. Later on in life, telling stories through food and photography and writing. But I wasn't happy, and I stayed in this job way longer than I should have. I mean, at first I ignored it. I really just needed a job. Like I said, I was in my early to mid 20s and I needed a job and I didn't really care. And I kind of liked traveling, but I always in the back of my mind said, yeah, I don't think I really want to do this and I really want to leave. So I eventually did. I listened to my intuition, but a lot of times intuition doesn't always align with logic. It aligns with your purpose and your inner knowing. So once I listened to that, I got back into graphic design. I did that and web design for several years, ended up working at the Home Depot advertising group for about 4 years as a full-time senior designer before I went to Australia and pursued a degree in advertising over there, a master's degree. And I took the leap. I felt guilty, but again, I needed to listen to my intuition because what I really wanted to do, I wasn't doing. And so I wasn't truly satisfying my soul or my goals or who I really was or my true purpose because I wasn't listening to my gut and my intuition. We can talk about this in relationships too. I'm sure we've all had good relationships, bad relationships, some that are so-so, but I tend to be one of those people. I stay in jobs and relationships, maybe situations or friendships longer than I should. Again, not listening to my intuition. And I've had several relationships. I won't even talk about it or name names. It doesn't matter because they're in the past. But same thing. If I stayed in a relationship too long, for example, my marriage, I stayed in it because I wanted to make it work. I was trying to make it work. But at the end of the day, my intuition knew that he and I wanted to be in different places in life. One wanted to live in Alabama. One wanted to live in New York City. One wanted to settle down and have kids and a family and go to football games. One wanted to travel the world and start a business and be single for a while and explore and go to Australia. Right? So once I actually listened to my intuition, I took that leap And it was painful. I felt guilty. I felt bad. But at the end of the day, it was the best decision ever, not only for me, but for him too. And it was really, really good for me because I got to go to Australia, pursue my master's degree, travel, meet people, open my eyes, have my eat, pray, love moment. I needed that for my inner happiness, and my soul needed that, right? And then moving to New York City, that whole thing. Again, worked in advertising for about 7 or 8 years in a creative production role, like managing creatives, but not doing creative. Once again, stayed in that probably longer than I needed to, but it was secure. It paid well. I needed a good job to live in New York City and make good money to afford to live there. You guys know how New York City is. But again, every job I was in, the first few years, it was like, I am not happy, but I'm staying in this because I kind of have to. And so it wasn't until I really followed my passion. I found food, cooking, food writing, photography, blogging, all of that was my aha moment. And that was my intuition saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm happy doing. And following that intuition, not only did it change just my career, but it also gave me confidence in me again. Like, I'm really good at this and I love doing what I do. And it also attracted the kind of people and opportunities. They opened more and more. The longer I did it, I began attracting all of those things into my life and built my business from scratch with no clients, a little bit of money saved, attracted that all into my life. So, of course, there were times that I didn't listen. And those were moments that taught me even more, like I talked about. Maybe my marriage. Probably shouldn't have said yes to the marriage because we were together for 10 years. We broke up a few times. And I think I hesitated and felt in my gut I was unsure. And I should have listened to it. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. Not looking back with regret. That's okay. It's a life lesson. But what I really want to get across here is, you guys, listen to what your gut is telling you, because you may go to all of your friends, family, coworkers, other people looking for answers, asking questions. What should I do? What do you think? What do you think? And then what happens? You get 100 different opinions. Your mind is spinning and you're even more confused than you were before you asked them. So in terms of my marriage and divorce way back when, I was confused. I really wanted to do the right thing, but I really wasn't happy. And I knew where I wanted to go and I knew where he wanted to go. So towards the very end, I asked my cousin who lived in North Carolina, I said, do you mind if I drive up here and stay for the weekend? Because I said, you know what? I really just want to get away from everyone and everything because I need time to think. I need time to be alone. I need time to kind of pray on this, meditate, just really think about it. And after those 3 days, she left me alone. She totally left me alone. And I came out of there with my decision clear as day. And I got rid of all the noise, all the opinions, all the judgment, all the guilt, all of that. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. So these are lessons in my life. I'm sure you guys can apply this to any other type of situation in your life, whether it's work, relationships, whatever. But the point is, when you don't listen to your intuition, or you do things like take on projects or jobs or relationships that aren't aligned, they don't feel right, or you say yes to a project or a client or a job that drains your energy, you know what I mean? Like, those are the things that you need to really listen to and pick up on. And don't be afraid to trust yourself that it's okay if I leave the situation if it's not serving me anymore. It's okay. So the decisions that I didn't listen to intuition always ended the same way. Frustrated, burned out, that gut feeling saying, see, I told you, you knew all along. So the next thing I want to talk about, part 2, is intuition versus fear. Over time, I learned something really important. Your intuition feels calm and fear feels frantic. How many of you guys have felt completely frantic and just frazzled and confused? This is not working. And how many times have you met someone, whether a friend or relationship, or been in a new job or a situation, new client, and things just jive? they feel calm. They feel right. It flows, right? That's what I'm talking about. So when your gut is speaking, it doesn't shout. It whispers with clarity. You actually feel it. I have met people in my life within the first 30 seconds. I could feel that energy. I could feel whatever it was not working out. And then there's other people, like I said, I met, and within the first few minutes, whoa, I like this person and I can tell they like me and we are fast friends, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. So proving my point, a lot of times we try to force a friendship or a relationship or a job to work or a client, whatever. But forcing things doesn't work. It always backfires and it's a waste of time, actually. Fear paralyzes you. It yells, it questions, it overanalyzes, it makes you doubt yourself, it makes you feel guilty, stressed, whatever, frazzled, like I said. There's a quote by Maya Angelou. She once said that I've learned that whenever I've made a decision with my heart, I've never been wrong. I want to say that one again because I love this so much. I have learned that whenever I've made a decision with my heart, I've never been wrong. I think about moments when I had to choose between safe and soulful. So, for example, when I moved to New York City from Australia, had no job yet, didn't know anybody other than my aunt and uncle that lived there. I went there to chase my creative opportunities and my big dream of working in advertising at a big ad agency in New York. And those things weren't guaranteed. Everyone said it was risky. In fact, when I was like right out of college, I wanted to move to New York and went to go see my aunt and uncle. I was 21, 22, had no experience. Everybody tried talking me out of it, especially my family. Why would you want to move to New York? Oh, you're never going to find, it was sort of like, okay, this is too risky. Everybody's being really negative. So I ended up moving to Atlanta, which thank God didn't turn out to be a bad thing because I ended up meeting some of the best friends in the world that I've known for 30 years there and had a lot of good opportunities. So yeah, Atlanta wasn't a total wash. It wasn't. I had some really, really, really great moments, adventures, memories, friendships, travel, awesome things. But I had bad things too, right? It's all part of living and growing. Not everything's going to be perfect. But again, with Atlanta, I knew I wasn't really meant to be there. And the reason I left a marriage was because I knew I was meant to be in New York. Let's fast forward to today. You guys know I've been working for a company for 4 years, food styling for HEB. Okay, great. Good experience, fun. But you know what? I'm not meant to be in San Antonio. This was not meant to be a forever thing. And honestly, I went to New York City a couple weeks ago. Do you guys know how freaking excited and happy I was? And I felt like I was home. I felt like I was home. My intuition was saying, you need to come back here because I felt alive. I felt excited. I was with my best buddies that are still there. And I knew that New York City is where I built my business. My business thrived. The only reason I left was to go to Florida. I knew some people. I loved Florida, wanted a break. But when I think about home, upstate New York, where my mom and my sister and my nieces and nephews, they're in upstate in Rochester. That's home. But New York City is my home. And intuitively, I feel that. I know that. I love that. And that is where I am meant to be. I know that now. That's where I'm meant to connect, to create, to grow, and to live a freaking happy life. And there's always opportunities to go travel and work in other places or just go visit for fun. But what I'm saying is diving deep, listening to your soul, your heart, your inner voice. Where is it that you want to be? We all want to live in Paris, or in Italy in the southern coast in Amalfi. Okay, great. Not all of us can do that. Yeah. But is your intuitive inner voice saying, well, you're supposed to be living there? Okay, that may be a little outlandish. Of course, we'd all love to live there. But really think about your life, your job, your goals, your relationships, your experiences. What is it that makes you happy? What do you feel really jives with your inner self, your soul? And I know I'm getting deep, but it's because I keep saying your intuition is always right, you guys. If you feel like something's off, like immediately, or maybe it takes a couple of years, sometimes the lessons are a little harder and a little longer, or they repeat over and over until you finally learn from them, right? How many of us have done that? I know I have. But there's going to be times when you get a little quiet warning. It may not be full on, oh my God, get out of this job. Oh, you need to leave this person. I'm not telling all of you guys to quit your jobs and leave your partners. What I'm saying is just listen to those quiet warnings, red flags, especially women. Come on, girls. You know what I'm talking about. Women have intuition like a sixth sense. I am not kidding. So again, if you've stayed too long in partnerships or jobs that didn't feel right, or you ignored red flags because you want something to work, okay, I've done that many times, many, many times. But every single time, my intuition was right. It wasn't trying to punish me. It was protecting me, and it was leading me towards alignment, not away from it. So the truth is, with all of that said, your intuition isn't designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you real and align with your true self, your true purpose, your true journey, where you are meant to be and what you are meant to do. So now I want to go into part 3, which is how to strengthen your intuition. So how do we learn to trust the inner compass, especially when life is loud and everyone has an opinion? Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. Everyone's got an opinion, right? So here's what's worked for me. First one, like I talked about before, is quiet the noise. Quiet the noise. I've found my clearest insights during still moments, taking a walk on the beach by myself, journaling in the morning with a coffee, traveling solo, even just taking a drive into the country, sit somewhere, have a little cocktail, glass of wine. You guys know that that's my jam. That's where I come up with a lot of my ideas for my blog, my podcast, recipes, whatever, but especially my deep moments and creative moments, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So your intuition doesn't compete for attention. It waits for silence. Number 2 is feel before you think. I know a lot of you guys are more left-brained people, more judgmental people, not judgmental, but logical, I guess is the word, right? And then you've got your right brains, your creatives, your feeling people, your emotional people. I'm a little bit of both, but mainly right brained. But if you think too much, sometimes you talk yourself out of things without really feeling, is this right for me, right? Your body always speaks before your brain does. So when something feels off, I get a subtle heaviness in my chest. Believe me, I met someone about a year ago, and as soon as I met her, I could feel this tense, uncomfortable, kind of scary, dark, icky feeling, energy, I guess. And I knew that this person and I, we were never going to get along. I tried, didn't work out. But my gut told me from the first 30 seconds looking and talking to this person, this wasn't going to work out. And like I said, when something gets off, you're going to feel it in your chest, in your gut. Your hair might stand out, you might get goosebumps. I don't know, but I know I can feel things like that. And then let's talk about the opposite. When something is right, you meet someone or you're in a job or you're doing something that just feels right. You feel this like light magnetic pull, this exciting energy mixed with peace. Like it's not hard. I remember asking my friend Charlie, she was one of my college roommates from Buffalo. Well, she's from New York City. We all went to Buffalo State together, and she ended up moving away. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, we were all done with college, and she and I were on the phone, and she got engaged and was with this guy, and they were getting married. And I remember asking her, so how did you know that he was the one? And she said, Chris, it's just easy and comfortable. I can't explain it. It's just easy. And that's what I'm talking about. And it doesn't have to just be a relationship or a love thing, anything that you are doing. If it feels that way and it feels right, go for it. If it doesn't feel right, or maybe it seems right, or it's wrapped in a pretty package sounds tempting, but there's still something that's a little off, I would listen to those red flags and move on. Find something else. Number 3 is reflect instead of react. If I am torn, I'm going to take a pause, step away, let the decision breathe. Intuition thrives in space, not pressure. So think about that. If someone's forcing you to make a decision quickly, or, you're torn and it's like you got to make a decision, take a minute, take a step back, go somewhere quiet. Don't start asking all your family and friends, what should I do? What do you think? What should I do? No, let the decision breathe. Sleep on it. They always say that. Sleep on it. In the morning, you'll probably have your answer. Last one is build evidence. Look back on the times that your gut led you to the right place, even when you couldn't explain why, and write them down. And you're going to start seeing patterns that your inner voice has always been guiding you. Seriously. Oprah once said, your life is always speaking to you. The question is, are you listening? I started listening when I realized that every creative breakthrough, every meaningful collaboration or personal transformation or relationship began with an intuitive whisper that I chose to trust. So next I want to talk about how to use intuition in your business and creativity. In business, intuition is your superpower. It's the part of you that senses what your audience wants before they do, that knows when to pivot or when to stay the course. When I'm styling food or shooting photography, I don't just think about what I want to do. I feel it. I feel when the light is right, when the colors are balanced, when the story behind the image comes alive. And that's intuition at work, artistry guided by instinct. And in entrepreneurship, intuition is what tells you when to say no to something that looks good because it doesn't feel right. It's what leads you to the ideas that don't just make money, they make meaning. Richard Branson once said, I rely far more on gut instinct than on researching huge amounts of statistics. And honestly, that's where the magic lives, between logic and leap, between strategy and soul. So today, I just want to remind you, your intuition is your greatest compass. It will never mislead you if you trust it more than the noise around you. When something feels right, even if it scares you, follow it. And when something feels wrong, even if it looks perfect, pause. Because your intuition is your soul's GPS, and it will always, always guide you home. If this episode inspired you, please share it with someone who's learning to trust their own voice too. And remember, the most powerful decisions you'll ever make are the ones that come from within. And don't forget to subscribe, share, hit the bell, because whenever you do that, that helps me keep my business going and keeps me inspired to motivate myself to share experiences, stories, and awesome things with you too. So on that note, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Listen to your gut. Trust your intuition. It will never, ever steer you wrong.